Welcome to GlowJob, the beauty podcast that's more than skin deep. We're the only podcast to make you hotter and smarter.
Okay, so in a year of a beauty slowdown, how come nobody is talking about the closure of Kim Kardashian's skin?
I think this was first announced back in March, right? Like they had this official announcement that Skims, the clothing company, was going to acquire skin by Kim Kardashian.
This feels like, the Sally sold seashells by the seashore. It's like a tongue twister. Oh my God.
Exactly.
For those of you who don't know, before it was skin, it was actually KKW Beauty. So Kim Kardashian initially launched her makeup line, KKW, and then eventually rebranded as skin. But let's talk about that rebrand, because I think that was really interesting when they closed KKW. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think the main reason why she moved away from it is because the KKW is like Kim Kardashian West, and then she went through a divorce, but you can really tell that the entire aesthetic totally changed, right? When they first launched Skin, they got rid of all of the makeup. It came out with this really just kind of simple, futuristic, but very plain looking packaging that was like, there used to be so much drama when that first launched. Do you remember all the drama about like them being refillable?
Yes, I do remember this. I mean, I thought they looked aesthetically nice. Like, I wasn't hating on it.
I mean, the thing is, it's like when you're paying a premium for prices, like you would expect like the quality to be nice. The quality wasn't there, but at least I think their saving grace was like claiming it was refillable. So you could, repurpose things into like a tissue box or like a $90 tissue box or whatever they were calling it. But eventually they did bring makeup back into the whole like skin universe. But I'm pretty sure that makeup launch did not do very well because I didn't hear much about it at all.
No, for sure. And, before all of this even happened, the rebrand of Skin, let's talk about KKW and their early valuation. So I believe it was back in 2020. Coty initially acquired a 20% stake in KKW Beauty. And now Coty also has ownership in Kylie's makeup brand. They're kind of within the whole Kardashian universe. They bought a 20% stake at a $1 billion valuation. So back in March of this year, Skims bought Coty's share back at a loss, a $71 million loss. That's pretty gnarly.
I was honestly really shocked at that. Like, I almost thought that Coty, like, are they doing her a favor? Like, do they want to stay in business with her? Is that why they're taking such a massive loss? Because basically, they bought it from her and she's buying it back from them. You would think that they would at least buy it back for the same price.
I think this is indicative of probably their sales. Like, their sales must have been so bad that they were like, we're willing to take this as a loss leader just to get out. So Skin officially closed shop at June of this year. So they shut down their website, no social media posting, and they've been quiet ever since.
But there are whispers that, there could be something coming back, right?
Yes. Rumor has it that since Skims has now acquired Skin, oh my God, that tongue twister, that there are rumors that Skims Beauty is going to launch in 2026. So it seems like Kim is trying for the third time to launch that billion-dollar beauty brand, and hopefully this is third time the charm.
I think it's going to happen. I mean, like Skims has not missed since they started, right? Like with all of their different launches, all of their like super exciting, like super creative partnerships. Like, I don't know. I think that they're going to do it because Old Navy and Gap, they're also getting into beauty too. And so I think, Zara, they more recently started doing like fragrance and beauty and also hair. So it's kind of interesting to see how like all of these fast fashion houses are kind of falling in suit.
They're all playing that same playbook from luxury fashion. Everyone wants to get in on beauty.
So also in the Kardashian universe, we got to talk about Kris Jenner as the new cover girl for MAC Cosmetics.
She actually looks so fab. I thought she looks great.
I mean, she's got to earn back that $500,000 she spent on that facelift. So I think she's like definitely doing the right thing. But honestly, how exciting seeing a woman who's like, I think she's almost 70. I think she's like 69 years old being the cover girl. And honestly, she looks great.
That facelift, it paid off.
I've been loving following along with all of Mac's super kind of out there marketing campaigns lately. Because, hiring Kris Jenner or any Kardashian, maybe unless it's like Kendall, but, it's always making a statement, right? Like that you want to be more kind of like in culture and pop culture culture, whatever you want to call it. Because back in May, MAC hired a brand new creative director, Nicola Formichetti. And I gotta say, this guy is so iconic. Like he comes from the world of fashion, right? Like he's been with Diesel, Mugler. He has literally worked with every single brand, been in every single magazine. And also he has been like the main contributor in terms of like collaborator with Lady Gaga and all of her iconic looks. I did not know this.
I think it's such an asset for MAC to have somebody with such creative expertise now leading the charge, for a beauty brand. And of course, yes, he's not a direct beauty transplant. He comes from fashion, but I do think that fashion and beauty, they play together very well.
Oh, 100%. And especially with a brand like MAC, I think for like all of time, like I'm thinking like way back with that old Viva La Glam with RuPaul and that awesome outfit, definitely really pushing the boundaries for like what beauty should look like. Because obviously clothes played a huge role in that campaign. But I just got to highlight a couple of Nicola's like most iconic moments. Because first and foremost, he was the brain behind the meat dress. The Lady Gaga meat dress.
I remember that.
And, he did the whole, like when Lady Gaga showed up at the Grammys and that giant egg back in the day when she was doing like the VMAs and the bleeding paparazzi outfit where she was like hanging from the ceiling with all that blood coming out of her. But also recently at the VMAs when Doja Cat brought out her MAC lipstick and started eating it.
Yes.
It all kind of ties in, right, with the whole VMA thing.
It's so theatrical, which I personally enjoy. I remember seeing a reel online of the pastry chef who like actually baked the tins for the lipstick. And it was so cool to see it.
I think that pastry chef, like Amaury Gouchon, something like that, some French name, but he has so many followers. So even like just working with him, like he's got millions of followers, was also a brilliant move. But I don't know, there have definitely been a lot of whispers saying that, oh, beauty is for beauty, just like what you were saying. And a lot of people kind of like aren't happy about Nicola taking the role.
Yes. And I think one account in particular, Estée Laundry, which, is a go-to Instagram account for beauty lovers and beauty insiders, they seem to really have a lot of flack with Nicola.
They hate him. I don't know. Maybe it's kind of because like, they are beauty insiders, right? I know it's multiple people that actually run the account and it's a very kind of cohesive effort of tapping into their many, many networks. So maybe having like an outsider outside of that industry might make them a little nervous.
A little threatening?
I don't know, but they have been like at MAC's throat these past couple of days because they have this they literally wrote a Substack piece about how they're kind of calling MAC out for claiming that both Kris Jenner and Doja Cat use the same shade of MAC foundation.
So they say that they're shade 20, right?
NC20, yeah.
NC20, okay.
Yeah, at first they were trying to say like, oh, is MAC doing this like all for one campaign, like, making like NC20 their universal shade. And then there was a lot of talk about like, is this MAC's team really just messing up and not knowing Doja Cat's shade and just throwing out NC20 because they can't remember what the makeup artist used? Or is it like, potentially like a race thing? So, I think that there are definitely some really sweeping claims, but I know so many makeup artists who can use and manipulate like one foundation shade and lighten it with a concealer, darken it with some contour, change everything with a little bit of blush. Like, I don't think it's that far-fetched to think they're both NC20.
No, totally. And also like, it's pretty known that Kris Jenner loves to over bronze and like really, really contour. So I could easily see that she might use a shade that is slightly darker than her natural shade because that's something that people can do sometimes.
Yeah. And I know that like they're also using like concealer shades, 5 shades lighter, contour shades, 10 shades darker, right? But it's all about like blending and technique. But I don't know. I think that MAC isn't lying when they are saying that she uses NC20.
I think the one thing you brought up, Julia, about race is a sticking point for some people because I think there are some folks out there who are, I would say, not happy with the way that the Kardashians have profited off of Black culture. And so I think that becomes part of the conversation. And so I can see how that could be a sensitive topic. But also, like I said, I think Kris is obviously just like using a lot of bronzer in her face to make herself look tanner, which is another whole conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many things you can call out the Kardashians for when it comes to like race and race relations, but I just don't think that this is one of them.
Right. I don't think MAC was trying to perpetuate that.
No, I really don't think so.
Speaking of messy things, we have got one messy AF breakup to talk about. And this is between Natalie Massenet and Erik Torstensson. And so Natalie is the founder of Net-a-Porter. She was a former WWD editor, and now she's a venture capitalist, a very successful venture capitalist, by the way. And Erik, her partner, is a Swedish creative director and co-founded Frame Denim, aka the supermodel favorite pair of jeans. And he's been a long-time collaborator with big luxury brands, and he was also an early Skims investor.
But like Natalie, I don't know. She's got like a way more successful track record, in my opinion. Like if you go online, you can like see all the companies she's taken interest in. But she also has a stake in Skims. I think it's like 10 to 15%, way more than what Erik has.
Oh yeah, Erik has like less than 5%. But so both of them are successful in their own right. Natalie, of course, I think she is the power player in this relationship. But basically, in August of this year, Natalie, who is 60 years old, sued Erik, who is 46, and accused him of conning her out of $95 million across their entire relationship. So for context here, Natalie and Erik were never married. They were in a relationship, in a partnership, and they shared their son. So Natalie actually first met Erik when she was married to her first husband. Natalie has 2 daughters from her first marriage. So Natalie has claimed that Erik has cheated on her, been battling with addiction, hired prostitutes, used her money and her connections to leave her, quote unquote, cash strapped.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like, yes, he does have like a little bit of like claims to fame with like frames and whatever that is, but like she is so much more successful than he is, right? I think it's a fraud and intentional deceit case. Like that's what they're going with in terms of legal terms. But, I feel really, really bad for her. This is such a smart woman because it's not just Net-a-Porter. It's Glossier, Everlane, Reformation, Necessaire, Cosa. It's like all of these like successful luxe brands. But, she's just like, she's down bad. Like her Instagram is now private. This is like really embarrassing.
So after Natalie first filed her suit, a few days later, Erik countersued her in New York. By the way, I should mention that Natalie filed this suit in Los Angeles. The couple lives in New York, so I found that kind of interesting. Erik countersues in New York, seeking custody of their 7-year-old son that they share, and he accuses her of heavy drug use, alcohol use, violent behavior, and being, quote, unfit to parent.
That is so wild. It's so crazy that it's so public,
I know.
if that makes sense. Like this is just like so gnarly, especially because they were together for a long time, 14 years. It was like a 14-year age gap and 14 years together.
Speaking about how public all of this has played out, it's impacted both of their careers. So Frame has announced that Erik has stepped away from his day-to-day leadership to, quote, focus on personal matters. And Natalie's lawsuit that she initiated has raised eyebrows amongst her peers. I think a lot of folks, especially a lot of investors and GPs in her fund, they're uneasy with how public all of this has gotten, and it's kind of big reputational risk.
I mean, it makes sense. Like both of them, like they're leading big companies, right? Like they're working in very public arenas. I can totally see how this is like, it's going to be really difficult to come back from this.
Skims also distanced themselves from Erik, saying that he is just, quote, a very small minority stakeholder, and also clarifying that Natalie has no role on the board.
I mean, that makes sense. Kim's not letting anybody come after her billions.
Exactly. But, from what I've heard from insiders, especially in New York, it seems like a lot of people are on Natalie's side here. People are saying that, she would not come out so publicly about this unless it was really affecting her day-to-day life. And so it seems like most people are siding with Natalie.
I mean, for $95 million, I might want to drop, a torpedo as well, right? Like that's crazy. And it must have been like, I was also reading he would like disappear for days at a time, like he really just like left her high and dry, clearly.
Next up on the docket, Condé Nast just launched a new influencer platform called Vette. So this platform is slated to launch in early 2026. And basically, instead of affiliate links, creators can create their own e-shops, sell curated product selections, have the brands drop ship, and Vette handles all of the checkout.
I think that this is kind of like a natural next step for like luxury to really get involved in this like affiliate marketing realm. And, it is a big deal because, I think it's really going to change how a lot of influencers and celebrities are going to be able to like authentically talk about this. Because I think it's always just, the spawn con for them. It's never been as blatant, if that makes sense, right? It's always kind of been like, oh, well, they don't have to do affiliate marketing. They're super, super rich. But, now I think it's going to change quite a bit.
For brands also, it's a really cost-efficient way of just creating a new channel, right? It's like another opportunity to sell more product. And for creators, it feels like they can have more ownership because they get to own basically their own little e-shop.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't know what the commission rate's going to be, but like, I don't know if you're doing 20%, which is like 20% of like a Bottega Veneta bag, like, you're making not too bad.
That'd be pretty nice. I think the one question that I'm curious to see how this plays out is like, since so many creators already promote products, how are you going to make one person's storefront stand out from, the rest of the celebrities and influencers out there? It feels like everybody will now just have a storefront, right?
What I think from me personally, what I've seen like online and on social media, like some influencers basically become like Shop My LTK, Amazon influencer, whatever like the existing ones are. That's kind of like their full-time job. And they really just niche down because, an influencer at the end of the day, their main job is to make money from being online, right? So if they're able to make more money from affiliate sales and from brand deals and brand partnerships, like I think we're going to see some of like these even higher end influencers and celebrities kind of shifting over a little bit. But, working in this affiliate marketing space is extremely, extremely lucrative. Like companies like LTK and Shop My, they have built empires off of this because basically this is how they'll monetize, right? So that is going to be essentially probably, I'm just assuming, but they're going to be charging brands to exist in their ecosystem, right? It's going to give them access to a number of influencers and celebrities that sign up for this. And I think a lot of times being able to build those relationships one-off, that costs so much time and so much money to kind of flirt with them and really just kind of bring them into their network. But now they're going to have like a direct access. But yeah, I mean, I think TikTok has done a really good job of building out their affiliate program. Remember those girls we met at that dinner with The Ordinary?
Oh, yes, I know. They were like big TikTok shop people.
Yeah, like that is their full-time job, just like TikTok selling. But also Sephora's launching their influencer program too.
I saw that. Everyone's getting in on the game.
It makes sense. It makes sense. I think at the end of the day, they're probably realizing that it makes everybody happy. And I think that, brands also know by this stage, like anytime you work with an influencer and you're paying them money to make a video or to promote something, it's always kind of a gamble, right? Like, am I going to pay $10K and is that video going to flop or is it actually going to convert? This way with affiliate marketing, all of those transactions are going to be trackable. So they can really see the impact that an individual influencer can go and, bring in. Cool. I got a crazy story, Sasa.
Tell me.
Okay, and it's about influencer marketing, but do you know who Danielle Bernstein is?
I think I do.
She's like an influencer. She does the who, what, where? Yeah, just like, which is like fast fashion, but double the price. I don't know. Basically, she's this influencer and she's getting married right now. And she's totally under fire because she went on social media the other day talking about her wedding, how it's going to be so luxurious. Like, I wonder how many sponsored activations are going to be there. But she actually was like telling her audience about how she created a shoppable lookbook for the different events at the wedding because she wants all of the guests to have like a very cohesive dress code to fit the vibe, to fit the aesthetic. And everyone was just like up in arms and like calling her out and saying like, how much money are you trying to make off your friends and family with this?
Oh my gosh. So basically all the guests had to buy an outfit from her like LTK or Shop My page, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't hint to like if they're getting a discount or if like she's covering the cost of it. But, she just said that she created this lookbook where they can buy what they want. And then when somebody chooses dress A, it's going to be removed from the website. And then so everybody else can only pick from the other remaining dresses. I just thought that was just like so kind of like not tasteful.
It's cringe on two levels. One, gosh, I get it. Like for a wedding, a bride, it should be about her and blah, blah, blah. But like when people go full on bridezilla, I'm like, no, thank you. I cannot partake.
Like, I think you can shove your bridal agenda down your bridesmaids' throats and being like, wear this dress that I picked.
Right.
But, doing it to everybody else.
To your
and
guests?
That's crazy.
I know. Yeah. And then the icky part, of course, is like, oh my gosh, you're monetizing off of us for your wedding is the other like, ugh.
I mean, she's not the first influencer to monetize off their wedding, but she's probably the first to monetize off of her friends.
Yes,
wedding.
Exactly. That's crazy.
I know.
And some acquisition news, Cos Bar, the luxury multi-brand retailer, was recently acquired by the Mitchell family office. Terms of the deal have not been disclosed so far, but prior to this announcement, there were rumors and reports that Violet Grey was in late stage discussions to acquire them, and clearly that fell through.
I know. We were talking about this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
We thought they were going to buy them too because they just bought the detox market. And, I guess, the clientele base is probably super similar, right? Like luxury retailer, luxury, clean products. But, the Mitchell family office is a private investment firm of Mark Mitchell. And he basically created a lot of his wealth in like healthcare, primarily like house call medical care.
Very specific.
Very specific, but I guess he's in beauty now.
Well, we all know that healthcare is very lucrative. So he must have made a pretty penny and now is like, what's the next best thing to invest in? And he's looking at beauty.
But honestly, Sasa, who the hell is shopping at Cosbar?
I mean, not you and me. So
no, but it's like Cosbar, Detox Market, Violet Grey. I don't know, like I'll throw Blue Mercury into there. Like these are all like luxury skincare retailers. And like, I don't know, you and I, we spent a lot of money on this stuff. I've never shopped at any of these places.
I've shopped at Blue Mercury like once or twice in my life, but it's not like my go-to store.
No, honestly, like when I go and buy like really expensive skincare, I often just buy like directly from the brand because it's not like, especially if they're not in a Sephora, right? So like, I just like to buy it like directly from them, or I'll go to like a Neiman's and Saks because they have like a really excellent return policy.
I know, I'm the same way.
And our last bit of news for the day is that the state of Washington is planning to ban all formaldehyde-releasing preservatives.
This is an expansion of the Toxic Free Cosmetics Act, and the ban of the formaldehyde-releasing preservatives is going to start in January of 2027. So formaldehyde has been identified as a probable human carcinogenic. And the thing about these preservatives in particular, so they don't actually just contain like free formaldehyde up front. They actually release it slowly over time to keep formulas free from bacteria and fungi. And they're usually found in things like hair products.
And also, like, as you mentioned, it's not the same as like straight up formaldehyde. They're really just releasing tiny, tiny amounts of formaldehyde. And they've been really like well engineered where they're only releasing these amounts, whether it's been a lot of time, right? So the product's been sitting around for a while, it's been open and just sitting, or when it's been exposed to heat. Because, right, like bacteria, fungi, they could really thrive in those warm environments. But the releasers themselves really aren't as toxic. But I was doing some digging online and like, technically everything can potentially be a carcinogenic, right? Like I even learned that the human body produces formaldehyde. Granted,
No way.
It is. So it's always like expelled very like rapidly after it is created. Like we breathe it out and that's kind of it. But it's interesting to see that Washington is taking such a hard stance on this.
So the timing of this ban is interesting because it aligns with the MOCRA national rollout. And so there's a lot of pressure coming from both the state and the federal level. And MOCRA, by the way, it's actually a bill and it's the first major update to the US cosmetics laws in 80 years. And it gives the FDA new authority to mandate safety reporting, recall products, and set stricter compliance standards for beauty brands across the board.
I'm super pro MOCRA. I think it's going to be great, especially because like we need not only new ingredients, but remember when we were talking about what's happening with all of Australia's sunscreens, right? Like, those products need to be pulled from the shelves. They do not have the SPF they say that they're going to have. And I think that, that our FDA literally moves like a slug. I think it has to, get more modernized. But I really want to see what's going to happen when it comes to how brands are going to be responding to this.
Oh, yes. I feel like brands are going to have to scramble to reformulate, basically. 2027, that's not that far away.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like it's going to be the most challenging for indie brands because so many of these small beauty brands, like they have been working on their formulas now, probably for years. They're probably bootstrapped. They're probably doing everything themselves. They've probably spent tens of thousands of dollars on testing to get the product where it needs to be today. And they might just have to scrap all of that and start over.
So alternatives to this kind of preservative, they do exist. So it's not just like a big blow to preservatives in general. It's really just a push to update. Before we wrap up, you guys, we're going to start doing AMAs. Ask us anything. And so if you go into our episode summary within your podcast app, be sure to click on the link at the bottom of the summary to submit your anonymous Ask Us Anything question.
And we really do mean ask us anything. It doesn't just have to be about the industry. If you want to get to know us better, let us know. But you know what, Sasa? I think they also deserve a little prize for doing this. Should we make this a giveaway?
Oh, 100%. Let's do it.
All right, hell yeah. It's a giveaway, guys. It's an AMA giveaway.
All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in to this week's Chit Chat. Be sure to tune in next Monday for our weekly beauty, business, and pop culture roundup.
See you then.